technologies which have been developed for the last decades for Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh region, and issue strategies and policy perspectives. So now I'm coming one by one to the parts. First, we say the Indian scenario. As you all know, when we have only 2.3% of the land area, but we are supporting 20% of the world livestock and nearly 17% of the human population. With this, so we are under stress situation for land, water, and other resources. So our 75% farmers are small and marginal holders, and where livestock is one of the main source of livelihood. But still we say when livestock is one of the main source of livelihood and it is a significant part of the agricultural GDP, but still our fodder cultivation is only 5% or 4.8% to some extent of the total area. So not much area is devoted to exclusively for the fodder cultivation. How to solve this? We will come to one by one. The first coming to forage production and utilization. If we say how the forage meat of the livestock is made, it is the crop residue and byproducts, which is still meeting more than 50% of the demand. Grazing resources, nearly 18%. Green forage production, the irrigated and then fed system, 28%. So these are the three major categories which is meeting the forage production and utilization in the country. Then coming to forage crops, what is the forage crops? It is the integral component of Indian agriculture, we know, from the ancient time, and our tribal population as well as our civilized population, everything we are doing with the mixed farming orientation. As the progress of human civilization progressed, as we progressed, we became dependent on the animal system, the livestock system, and our agriculture system becomes oriented toward mixed farming, combining crop production with livestock rearing. Both were integral part of not only Indian, I will say it is the global phenomenon. Globally, we are dependent on the both crop as well as the livestock. So forages, people say that the forages are for animals. I beg to differ. I say no, forages are not for animals. It is for the human being. It is the base of a food chain, and it is a source of protein and fat through intermediary like cattle, sheep, goat, poultry, etc. So forage is ultimately benefiting the human being, and through intermediaries. We are not directly consuming the forage, but the product of forage we are consuming in form of intermediaries that are the cattle, sheep, goat, poultry, etc. So when we say forage crops, we face certain constraints in the technology development. As a researcher, what the constraints we feel? Certain unique problems are with the forage crop. First of all, the multiplicity of the crop species. There is not one crop like the wheat or rice or maize we say, but there are multiplicity. And preference varies from season to season, locality to locality. And it is compounded with a non-commercial nature. Forests are not sold as a product like the wheat or rice or the horticulture products, fruits and vegetables. So it is a technically non-commercial nature. So farmers are not attracted towards it. And when they are not attracted towards it and they need forage, so they usually allocate degraded and marginal lands for the forage production and do not give any inputs like the fertilizer, insecticide, pesticide and others. And when we talk of forage also, because of its bulky nature, it is not economical to transport over long distances. And so we say that the national deficit is not important, but the regional deficits are more important. With the pockets of the deficits, the micro deficit zones are more important in the policy perspective, rather than we say the national deficit. It is not in the case of other grain crops or other where wheat can be transported from Australia to India, but we cannot transport forest from one part of the country to the other. Now, when we talk of what is the forest research network in India, if we start a bit historically, there was a landmark study, grassland survey done by Dabadghav and Shankar Narayanan. In 1963, it was published. It was the first authenticated whole India survey, where they surveyed and ultimately published the book, Grass
Sir,
Cover of India.
one moment, please. Sir, one moment. Can you resume presentation, because your presentation is not visible. At the bottom of this Meet window, you would have resume presenting option. Can you do that, sir?
It is not visible.
No, problem is here the people do not know how to pin the presentation. At times, students might be hearing you, but they don't know how to pin the presentation. At the bottom of the screen in Meet, you would have resume presentation.
Resume presenting.
Yes, yes. Now, people, again, I request from the bottom of my heart, do not start presenting when you join the room. That creates a havoc. Please do not do that. Now the screen is visible and people are seeing the presentation. Sir, you can start the show. Thank you. Sir, you can continue again.
Okay. Is it visible now? Is it visible now? Hello, Dr. Maji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we say forest research network, I was here. A landmark survey published in the name of Grass Cover of India by the Dabadghav and Shankar Narayanan, which is still the most basic study done in the grassland so far. And IGFRI Jhansi was established in 1962 to cover all the aspects of the forest crops. And then AICRP on forest crops, All India Content Research Forest Crops started in 1970, and at present it is in the golden jubilee year. And it started a network of whole country where the forest research can be coordinated under a single umbrella. So that the duplication can be avoided and the technologies can be shared. Then other institutions which are working on the forest crops since beginning are the Kajri at the Jodhpur, Krida at Hyderabad, Millet Research Institute in Hyderabad, and the AICRP on Pari Millet, Mandor, IM Maize Research Ludhiana, and various animal and veterinary research institutes like IVRI, NDRI, etc. Then many state agriculture university also opened forest section division agroecology like HAU Hisar, PAU Ludhiana, TNAU Coimbatore, Anand Agriculture University, Sukast K. Srinagar. Had also a very old agroecology and other division. Then the US, Bangalore, it was originally Bangalore, now bifurcated, which made the major breakthrough in the BN hybrids. Then we say the forest research, it is crucial for livestock production and livelihood. It gained momentum after establishment of IGFRI and All India Content Research Project on forest crops. And many improved varieties were developed, released, recommended for cultivation in different zones, as well as the specific farming situation. The focus is on high yield, quality, as well as specific need of the zone, location, and cropping situation. With this, when we say All India Content Research Forest Crops and Utilization, it is at present working with 22 centers across the country. You can see almost all the states have one center, or in Maharashtra we have two centers. So a network has been established where the post of scientists, technicals, and administrative staff was sanctioned and met by ICAR. ICAR is funding them. The whole experiments and technologies are coordinated with the headquarters at IGFRI Jhansi. We are coordinating the research activities across the country. So these are the map of 22 locations, 22 locations which are throughout the country, voluntary center. As well as we have also the voluntary center. These are the map of 15 voluntary centers which are running also across the country, and they are sharing our technology also acting as the testing location for technologies. These are the list of 22 centers, coordinated centers, which are working exclusively on the forage crops and technology development and to dissemination. And it is, you can see, in almost all the states of the country, it is there. So now coming to the climate change and forest scenario, how the climate change is affecting the forest scenario. When we say changing scenario in agriculture, what is the changing scenario? One is climate change. Second is increasing population, livestock and human. Increasing demand for quality food and fodder. On the other hand, there is decreasing resources. Landholding inputs, they are decreasing. And soil and water quality and availability is deteriorating. So these are the scenarios which in the next decades we have to face in the agriculture. With this, when we come to different aspects, am I audible? Because my presentation has stopped.
Yes, sir, you are very much audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, but
Yes, yes. So, the slide scenario has stopped. Presentation, I don't know how. Computer is hanged somewhat. So now coming to how, if the temperature increases, what happened actually, I don't know. Yes.
Sir, you can go to the PowerPoint and continue.
Okay, is it okay now?
It is visible to me.
Okay.
Is the presentation visible to you?
Okay, it is okay now. So when we talk of climate change, it is complex interaction of several biotic and abiotic components. Then the agriculture and food security we call is the most climate sensitive economic sectors. It is affecting this. And impact is the level of individual crop, whole farming system or natural resource base. So factors which are affecting are temperature, rainfall, greenhouse gases, and short-term weather variability. So how they are affecting the grassland and rangeland, if we say. Effect will depend on location, system, species. In C4 species, we will say temperature increase up to 30-35 degrees centigrade may increase productivity of the crops, fodder, pastures. In C3 plants also temperature will have a similar effect, and also increase in CO2 level will have a positive impact on productivity to a large extent. For food feed fodder crops like maize, sorghum, palm millet, etc., harvest index will be going to change. And so the availability of the metabolizable energy for dry season feeding, because the straw will have less energy. So it will not be able to meet the requirement of energy for the dry season feeding. When we say the straw feeding. Then species composition and production system in the mixed grassland. The legume and grass combination can change. And also the quality, because temperature increase will increase lignification and it will reduce the digestibility. What will be the effect on livestock? On livestock sector, if we say indirect effect, will improve quantity and quality of feed fodder resources may change. Pasture, forage, grain and crop by residues may change. And livestock disease and parasite may change. And we say with the pastoral system, because the pastoral system is also a very key factor in our forage scenario. So in pastoral and agri-pastoral system, livestock are key assets for poor people, providing multiple economic, social risk management function. So in arid and semi-arid region of the India, pastoral families migrate to arable areas to secure their livelihood. And experience it because of ITK and their traditional knowledges. Pastoralists adopt several strategies to cope against drought. Like they sell the livestock, other assets, they send animals to government-run cattle camps and start working in the Zili program, and also start migration. So these are various strategies which the pastoral community adopts. Now coming to forage crop improvement, what are the issues and strategies when we develop? Forage crop breeding, when we say it is an integrated approach, because when we talk of forage, we talk of protection, quality, seed, everything. Palatability is another aspect. So pasture species pose more complex problem in genetic improvement. From breeding point of view, we say forage crops are not as exploited as in the case of cash crops like wheat, rice, and other grain crops. They are exploited, and a large number of breeders across the country or across the globe are working on them. If we compare with them in the forage crops, very few breeders are engaged, and one of our study indicate that throughout the country, only 30-35 breeders are engaged in the forage crops, which include major 20 crops. So we say across the country there are less than two breeders in one forage crops, as compared to wheat and rice, where hundreds of breeders are engaged in one crop. So what are our objectives? When we try to breed a variety or a technology, we want to develop crop varieties that should fit into an ecosystem-based approach, and breeding of multi-purpose crop varieties with biomass suited for food, bioenergy, substrate, livestock feed, fiber, because when the fodder is surplus and it is not consumed, the storage becomes a problem, so it is mostly wasted. So if it can be converted into the other form, like the conservation, we will come to again later on. So how to this it? And this will help in combating the effects of ever increasing competing demands from these studies on arable lands, because arable lands are under pressure, water resources are under pressure. They are allocated to cash crops, and fodder crops are not getting a fair share in those allocations. We want to develop the smart varieties, which are capable of producing more with less, and high yielding, well adapted input use in efficient and resilient crop variety. For the use of crop wild relative underutilized crops and neglected species. So these genes, these traits, we are trying to assemble and develop the smart crop varieties using both conventional and biotechnological tools in our research program. So what are our target traits? Our target traits are better yield, green and dry matter both. Input responsiveness, if we give the input, they should produce better. And especially it is important for the high-end dairies, where the quality as well as quantity both matters a lot. Then the nutritional quality, high protein and digestibility. These are two factors. And along with the less anti-quality factors, many of the fodder crops, when we go for high biomass, some anti-quality factors are also associated. Like in Leucina, it is mimosine. In NB hybrid, it is oxalate. And in sorghum, it is HCN. So we will have to see how these anti-quality factors are also made to a level which is not harmful to the animals. And tolerance to biotic stress, a lot of disease and insect pest scenario across the countries are there. A biotic stress tolerance is another important aspect, because usually the poor and marginal land are allocated to fodder. So fodder varieties should be tolerant to adverse soils like acidic soil, saline soil, and extreme weather conditions. So we try to develop such grasses for the hills, where the frost tolerant and low temperature tolerant to the high temperature tolerant varieties which can survive the 40+ degrees centigrade in the arid and semi-arid, especially in the Rajasthan and other areas, Bundelkhand areas. Specific cropping sequences. Since the farmers are not willing to allocate land exclusively for the fodder. So we try to develop specific crop sequences where a fodder can be fitted in between the gaps that can be fitted on the fallow land, and a specific intercropping situation like maize, cowpeas, sorghum, rice bean, etc. Intercropping situation where the fodder can be taken along with the grain and straw. Specific niches, because some of the area where the, like we say, the waterlogged area or the high arid zone area, the specific niches where other crops cannot grow, we have developed certain varieties which can grow for the such condition also, and can give the farmers green and nutritious fodder. And the greater persistence and competitiveness, because in the mixed cropping, when we say, we feel it that the persistence and perenniality is a major factor, where improved varieties should be competitive to grow along with the weeds and other competitive plants. So when we say what are the major problems in grass breeding, especially the grass, they are the flowering is non-synchronous. Flowering and anthesis, they are maturing at different times, so collection of seeds becomes a problem. Apomictic nature. Another aspect is most of the tropical grasses are perennial, polyploid, and apomictic. So apomictic, it is very difficult to apply any plant breeding tools. Inbreeding depression is another aspect. Most grasses are polyploid with complicated inheritance of traits, and with this polyploid, it is very difficult to apply many of the breeding tools like mutation and hybridization. Very few genes are characterized or mapped. Molecular biology work, we say, in the forest grasses are almost nil or very meager. Floral parts are very small, very difficult to make crosses. CMS system, if we want to develop the hybrids, cytoplasmic male sterility system are not yet developed. Individual plants are highly heterozygous because they are not yet domesticated properly. And grain and vegetative biomass usually have an inverse relationship. So unlike the other grain crops, we are breeding here for the vegetative biomass. And when we are breeding for the high biomass, usually the seed production is low. So similarly, in the leguminous forage, also we face the similar problems. Like the range legume varieties are not highly competitive. So our objectives are to develop varieties with high competitiveness, growth, efficient nitrogen fixing types, so that they can grow in the rangelands and grasslands where the nutrition level is poor, high phosphate response. Then genes disease tolerance, especially among the legumes, we face it. So we try to transfer genes for, like we have got many successes in case of Medicago, in case of Trifolium. We have developed inter-specific hybrids, and we got many success also in oats. With the less anti-quality factors, because most of the legumes have some or the other anti-quality factors. So this is another aspect. We are considering variety with synchronous flowering and high seed retention ability. High seed retention ability is another important factor, because in most of the legumes or grasses, seeds are scattered when they mature. So now we are also focusing on the non-scattering time, so that the seeds are harvested in large quantity. Then in many crops, like almost all the legumes is a vegetative, even cultivated like cowpea and others, vegetative and reproductive growth phases overlap. So the seed setting and seed collection becomes poor. What are the varietal developmental steps? I would like to say one thing. When we say variety is released and notified. So what are the process involved? Superior breeding lines were developed by the breeders and they are tested in gestation trial. This is the first step. When the breeder find that their variety is superior, the line which they have developed is superior, they are given in the multi-location trial. Multi-location trial under All India Contract Research Project, they are tested along with the checks. Checks are the prevalent varieties, local varieties, as well as the national and zonal varieties. And they are tested first in initial varietal trial. If they perform superior, then the checks they are promoted to the advanced varietal trial 1. If they still perform superior, they are advanced to the advanced varietal trial 2. And along with them, experiments on the seed agronomic trials were also conducted. So after compiling all 3 years data, we say the better entries are put before the Varietal Identification Committee, which is a statutory body. And then if the committee found that the entries are superior, then they are put before the Central Varietal Release Committee. It is the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India body, with the Deputy Director General Crop Science of ICR is the ex officio chairman, and has the representation from all the state government agriculture departments and also the private sector people. So when this committee is satisfied with the performance, the variety is considered as the released, and they are notified in the Gazette of India for particular states for cultivation in a given situation. Because of practice and all the things are also given, so the results. When we say how the technology is developed, a technology is developed, it has also many steps. Various problems having national and zonal specificities are identified. Experiments are carried out in multi-location mode with defined technical program. It is discussed by the experts. They design the technical program to overcome those problems, and it is conducted. Then for 2 to 3 years, depending on the problem, and the results are compiled and analyzed, and they are discussed in the meeting with experts. And the finalized technology are then tested in the larger area. And if found effective, they are identified for use by the farmers, and they are also included in the state government package of practices book. So a technology is then adopted by the state government for cultivation. Forage crop varieties, there is a separate lecture also on the forage crop varieties. I will touch a few aspects only, and not going into the much details of this. If we want to have an idea of the forage crop varieties, there is a book which All India Contract Research Project has compiled, database of forage crop varieties. It is available on our website also, and you can find the book. It contains detail of 330 varieties, which are the state release as well as the central release variety, all those varieties which have ordered values, and it contains all the information and of those ordered crop varieties. If you want any information on the varieties, you can go and search this book. It was updated up to 2018 and compiled by the All India Contract Research Project on Forest Crops and Utilization. And it is available on this website, www.aicrponforestcrop.res.in. So you go on this, you can download the book also, and you can see all other details also if you want. They are available on this book. There are many things like variety information, crop statistics, online data submission, contingency plan, technology, tribal subplan, all these are available on this. You can check on this site also. Some of the fodder crops, you say one is important fodder crop is fodder sorghum. A very good fodder, you are available multi-cut, single-cut varieties, summer, kharif season varieties. For silage also, it is an excellent fodder. There are many varieties. and mostly you see the fodder sorghum when we say it is the annual. But we have also developed perennial sorghum varieties, which are multi-cut, which can grow up to 3 to 4, 5 years even. Good. And is given high yield. And there are two varieties, CoFS 29 and CoFS 31. These are the perennial sorghum varieties. It can be grown for 3 to 5 years. Fodder bajra or the pearl millet, if we say. It is suitable where the rainfall is very less. There are many varieties. TSFB 15-1, 15-4. These are the varieties which are released only in 2019 and notified in 2020. So these are the latest varieties. Then the fodder maize also, it is again very important, and it is excellent for silage also. And most popular variety, African tall. It is throughout the country. It is a very popular variety. And TSFM 15-6 was released in 2019 and notified in 2020 only. One of the latest variety. Barsim, you are aware well, and it is a winter season. India's most popular fodder crops can give up to 120 ton per hectare green fodder with 20% crude protein, and there are a large number of varieties for this also. You can see here I would like to point out one variety, JBSC1. It is the Jhansi Barsim single cut variety. Usually we know Barsim is a multi-cut variety, but this is a single cut variety. It can fit well in a situation where you have 2 to 3 months of dry of the fallow land. Usually after the rice cultivation, mostly the field are vacant, so farmer do not have irrigation source. So it can fit very well and give up to 300 quintal of green matter with 20 to 22% dry matter and 20% crude protein, and in a short period of 60 to 65 days. So farmers can adopt this variety when they have limited source of water availability. Lucerne, you know very well. Alfalfa it is also popular across the country. Both perennial as well as annual species and varieties are available. These are some of the latest varieties, and TNLC 15 is adopted only in 2020. This year latest variety TNLC 14 was adopted in 2019 only. So these are the latest varieties. Cowpea also, you are well aware, it is the Kharif season as well as intercropping. It is a good fodder. A large number of varieties are available. Styloxanthus also, it is for the range legume, peninsular India. Also, it is it is a very hardy and can grow very well under very limited moisture availability. Variety Phule Kranti is there. Cluster bean guar, it is popularly known as guar, and also it can be grown very well as a fodder for vegetables also. And there are 3 varieties which are exclusively for the fodder or dual purpose. Bundel guar 1, 2, and 3. Oat, you are well aware, it is one of the most important fodder crop in the country. Multi-cut, high-yielding, nutritious fodder it can give, and its quality is also good. There are many varieties: Kent, GHO 22, GHO 99, OS6, RO 19, and many other varieties have also come up for the forage oat. Guinea grass is another aspect which can grow in the plains as well as the up to lower hills. It is cultivated in Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, warm eastern and southern coastal India. It is very popular. Also occurring in the NEH part of the country. Excellent growing habit. So there are also a lot number of varieties, and now many varieties have come up which have perennial as well as annual characteristics. Another important aspect of Guinea grass, it is tolerant to the light stress. So even under the to 25 to 50% sunlight. It performs very well. And so it is an ideal situation for growing under the orchards or under the trees in the silvopasture system, in the hortipasture system. Dinanath grass is another grass, Pennisetum pedicelatum, which can grow very well under the poorest soil condition and with very less moisture and very poor soil. It can give 500 to 600 quintal of green fodder. Dhavlu grass, chrysopogon is also very common in the lower hills, and it has got excellent soil binding capacity and also a very good fodder, can grow on the very poor soil also. Marvel grass or the Dichanthium calgas or Ginjua, it is also popularly called. It is also a very good for the rangeland, and many varieties have also been developed on this. And it is a perennial multi-cut system in the pasture land. It is an excellent fodder. Same grass is again for the pasture, perennial multi-cut Sehman nervosum. There is one variety, Bundelkhand Senghas 1, developed by IGF Farajasi. Then Dhaman grass, Sanctus setigerus, especially for the dryland areas, it is a very good grass. Can give up to 300 quintal of green fodder. Many improved varieties have also come up, and Bundel, Daman and TNCS 265 were developed in 2019 only. Then another Sanctus ciliaris also. It is also a perennial crop, very good grass with very good persistence also. Once established, the pasture can give a fodder up to 3 to 5 years in a very good way. Then BN hybrid, Bajra Napier hybrid, popularly also people call it hybrid Napier or hybrid. It is an excellent fodder, and for the cultivated high input condition, it can give up to 400 tons or 4,000 quintal of green matter. And many new varieties have been developed for this, and especially up to the lower hills, coastal area, plains area, arid, semi-arid area, subhumid area, and up to the lower hills and even the mid hills, it can perform excellently. And it is now the most cultivated fodder crop in the country, occupying almost #1 position. Oat varieties, when we say there are many varieties developed for oat, recently these are some of the varieties which are occupying major area: OL10, OL 1804, OL 180002, developed from many zones. Then BN hybrids, again we say it's the Bajra Napier hybrid, a cross between Pennisetum glaucum and Pennisetum purpureum. And many new varieties have come up, and a special mention can be said of CoBN5. It has now been popularized throughout the country and one of the most sold and adopted fodder crop variety in the country. And especially in the PBN 346, most popular in Punjab and at the adjoining area. Phule Gunwant, Maharashtra and adjoining area, it is the ruling variety. BNH10 is also in the central part and other parts of the country, an excellent fodder crop. Then the cowpea varieties, again Co9, Vijaya, TNFS 00926, they are also very popular varieties and being adopted throughout the country. Basim varieties also, we will say HB2 for the Haryana and BL43 for the Punjab. And these are the very popular varieties and growing and adopted very well. Lucerne varieties, again Co3, Co4 has also come up this year, and these are the very good varieties. Again, you can adopt any varieties of that you want. Forage pearl millet, again many varieties for the different parts of the country is there, and for the different situations also. Soil tolerant as well as the dry area. Then the grass varieties for the arid and semi-arid, Bundel, Dhavlu grass 1, I've earlier told also in case of Sehima, in case of Guinea, And the Sanctus ciliaris variety, Madras Anjan. Then the Fule Marble variety, Guinea grass variety, Co GG3 is also very high yielding. It can give up to 320 ton per hectare per year. You can imagine such a high yield. It is an excellent variety again. Then the Co CN4, you can see the tillering stage here. Such a good tillering and such a luxurious growth, with around 400 ton of hectare per year, very soft and I was talking about the perennial sorghum, a variety QFS29. It is a perennial variety. 6 to 7 harvest can be cut in a year, and you can see the luxurious growth here. Then Guinea grass Co GG3, again a very tall and very good variety with very soft variety and long leaves. Then we say again, when we say, I've talked about the forest variety, now coming to some specific scenario in J&K and Ladakh. When we say in the hills region, livestock rearing is an integral part of hill ecosystem. And it is in hill especially, we say crop, livestock and human interaction is very important. These three are interrelated, interdependent, and if you affect one situation, it will affect the other. So crop, livestock, human, all three are the integral part of hill agroecosystem. Rangeland, pastures, pastoral system, and crop livestock production. They are functioning in the sustainable way or wrong. They were sustainable, but now the system is becoming unsustainable because of resource-based degradation and reduced output. So now how we should do it? These systems were earlier subsistence livelihood economy and not commercially oriented. But now changing scenario, we will have to adapt to a new situation. If we say the farm livelihood system in the hills, only 18% land area is cropland and 82% area is non-cropland. They are either forest or rangeland or pastureland or the alpine meadows, etc. Human to animals ratio is almost 1:1. So animals is also a crucial factor. Livestock contribution is 9% of state GDP or 45% of agriculture GDP, higher than the horticulture sector. Especially in case of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, I would say. They are contributing a lot and maximum contribution. So almost total farming community has livestock, pasture, or fodder component. Directly or indirectly, they are associated with this. 25% population are nomads and semi-nomads, like Gujars, Bakarwas, Chopans, Shangpas, and Gaddis in the Himachal, as well as the Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh in the hilly system. They are wholly or partly dependent on rangeland based on their pastoral or agri-pastoral system. And other farming families also maintain crop, livestock, mixed farming system. So livestock farming is very important for the hills. If we say the rangeland of Jammu and Kashmir, there are three agro climates. Subtropical Jammu, wet temperate subalpine, alpine Kashmir, and temperate cold and dry highlands of Ladakh. So these three climates, when we say the union territories of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, these are the major aspects. And the vegetative cover composition differs from zone to zone. The fodder demand and supply issues in J&K have largely regional character. Therefore, it requires using regional planning approaches. Earlier, if we say from Jammu and Kashmir, for green fodder and dry fodder in terms of storage, oats and alfalfa, they are transported to the dried and high hill of Ladakh because there is a fodder scarcity. And so this transportation and other factors are also at play to meet the long dry highlands. They are the importance. In the fodder availability, the livestock production falls drastically, especially in the valley during winter months. There is a widening gap between demand and supply of products in the state. Meat and livestock products are largely imported from other states such as Gujarat, Punjab, and also the Rajasthan. They are supplying the meat and milk product to the Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir, as well as to some extent Union Territory of Ladakh also. And fodder is presently cultivated only on 2% of the cultivable land in these Union territories. And when we say grazing pasture is a lot in around 3 million hectare area is in alpine and subalpine pasture in the Kashmir Himalayas. Kashmir and Ladakh Himalayas, if we say, a large area is there which are in the form of pastures. The subalpine pastures surrounded by forest located in the lower altitude are grazed for a longer time. During winter, the migratory livestock is stationed in the lower hills or plains, while the semi-migratory livestock is stationed on the foothills. So these were the migratory population maintained themselves. If we talk about the Jammu region, the irrigated flat croplands provide good amount of grain fodder. And Shivalik rain-fed sloping landscape of lower hill vast grazing area are now highly degraded. And they need rejuvenation. They need a scheme for revegetation. Tree-based fodder production system on private lands have also scope for further expansion. Because these are the tree-based system which can meet the private land demand also. Then if we come to the Kashmir region, the valley farmers maintain a small herd of cattle, cow and bullocks for multi-purpose use, mixed crop livestock farming system or orchard livestock system. Cut and carry fodder from cropland, weed or seasonal cultivation like oats, maize, etc. And fodder trees are for green fodder and dried fodder during winters. When we also talk of Kashmir region, the nomadic farming community of the valley like Bakarwals, they use highland pasture in summers and scrubland of Jammu in winters. And highland pastures are used for summer grazing are in reasonable good condition, even though livestock pressure is increasing. So the resource base is now decreasing. And reducing pressure, deferred grazing and resting, these are the required now for the rejuvenation of these pastures. And we need to cultivate more green fodder from cropland, like oat, clover, napier grass, etc. A horticulture system, because orchards are there in the hills, and we need to utilize the vacant land under the trees for use of orchards for developing pastures for green fodder, hay, silage making. Our centers in Jammu and Kashmir, IGFRI, RRS, Srinagar, as well as the Sukast case Srinagar, they have developed a lot of technology for growing of fodder crops under the orchards like apple, badam and other. They have developed technology under the walnut, and so this can be utilized to meet the need of fodder crops. And with the coming to Ladakh region, very less area, less than 1% is cultivated. So they are usually used by the migratory pastoral nomads, like Changpa for grazing livestock, goat, sheep, yak, horses, etc. And vast rangelands are used for migratory grazing in summer. And farmers are largely dependent on livestock for sustaining livelihood. So fodder import and supply is needed to meet the fodder demand during the winter. It is a very important aspect. We say importing of fodder, which becomes very costly and economically non-sustainable. When we talk of constraints in fodder production, what are the major constraints where we face that forage production is not taking the demand? And these are livestock development program are directed mainly towards the breed upgradation, and where very less effort is made on the rejuvenation of grassland fodder, non-availability of quality fodder and feed, low value crop residues and refuges, which is meeting the 50% of the demand. They are the mainly low protein, low mineral content, low digestion. What is the biological environmental constant? Low temperature during the winter, which hampers the growth, acid soil, many fodders of poor growth. Wheat problem, summer and kharif wheat is a major problem. Then technological constraint, poor seed production, poor agronomic management, both monetary as well as non-monetary inputs are not given. Inadequate plant protection measures, lack of irrigation facilities, lack of proper training, awareness, and the human resources, and then the weed and livestock population. What are the institutional constraints? Non-availability of seed planting material and other inputs in time, lack of efficient coordination, proper documentation, and then depleting productivity of pastures, burning and diversion of crop residues. Mostly the crop residues are burned and not fed to animals. Socioeconomic constraints are there. Average land holding is small, therefore crop residues are not sufficient to feed the animals. Farmers are not inclined towards fodder cultivation. Sheep, goat, and cattle are raised principally on the grazing land. Marketing facilities another problem. Poor credit flow, and stray animals are another problem for them. So, what are the efforts needed? Superior varieties are needed. I've already talked about it. Technology for rejuvenation of grassland pasture is needed, and it is a very important aspect, especially for the hills. Then we need compatible grass legume mixture for the pasture, suitable grazing systems, hortipastoral, silvipastoral system, suitable shade-loving species like we say Guinea grass, and also some BN hybrid varieties. They are there. Technology.
Sir, can you resume presenting? Somebody came again and started presenting. I have again said to them.
Hello?
Can you resume presentation? At the bottom, you would have in Meet, you would at the bottom have resume presenting.
Okay, wait then.
Sure,
Look, sir, kindly pin that slide, na? Only that slide.
Yeah, I told everyone to pin the slides. But problem is people are joining and they are at times not knowing what the procedure is. I have time and again told them to join only the presentation, not to present. And if at times this happens, pin the presentation. But people still complain that PPTs are not visible. Why? Because they do not know how the procedure is. The procedure is just go to the presentation, Ajoy Roy presentation, and pin it. It's simple as that. If you cannot do that,
Otherwise, it will disturb, na, if we again start presenting.
I told you the problem is I have time and again told the people, participants, this is the rules and regulations you have to follow. People still do not follow it. Tell me, how can I help? We're all learned people. We're supposed to be at the level of scholars. Scholars not only follow rules, they know things. Anyways, I have to intervene and tell them, please do not start presentation, and I have to tell them resume presenting. I have to tell resource person get disturbed. Our resource person gets disturbed. Anyway, sir, you can continue, please.
The window is not opening. Some are present now.
Present now, then choose.
I will have to.
Sir, you first stop your presentation, stop sharing, and then again start sharing.
Again, I will have to start.
Yes, sir, that's the problem, na? That's the problem.
That is the challenge people create when they start presenting. They don't join, they start presenting themselves. And unfortunately, Google Meet does not allow the option of changing this for now. Anyways, please, sir, please continue. Sir, you have muted yourself. Please unmute yourself. At the bottom, you have a mic icon. I'm not able to hear you because you have muted yourself, sir. Please unmute yourself. At the bottom where you see the camera as well as the call icon, you see a mic icon. It should not be red. Red means you're muted.
Yes, it is there. Actually, whole of the screen has gone out. I'm again sharing everything.
Okay, no problem, sir.
Wait for a minute, okay?
Sure.
Wait for a minute. Everything has gone out of shape.
Is the meet window visible where you see me? Or where you see my options?
Yeah, wait a minute. I'm now unable to share it again. I will have to start everything again. So please wait for a minute. I will have to start everything afresh because it has hanged there. Can you see the screen now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can able to see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are able to see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You just
Okay.
move
Okay,
on to the last slides, na?
Hello? Yeah, go to the.
Yes.
It's odd. You are audible.
Okay,
as
okay,
well.
okay.
Hello?
It is okay now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Okay,
You go to
so
you can go move on to the presentation slide which you were on.
okay. Wait a minute. So I was talking about the efforts needed is the technologies available for the hill job. Okay? Am I audible and the slide is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the technologies available? We are coming. It is the improved varieties of fodder crops are available. Improved varieties of fodder crops, cultivated fodder like oat, maize, sorghum, NB hybrid, cowpea, rice bean, they are available. For the pasture crops also, we have developed varieties, high-yielding improved varieties, Sitaria, tall fescue, clovers, both white clover, red clover, Persian clover, Lolium, Guinea grass, paragrass, Placaria, Paspalan, Sitaria, all are available. Technologies for rejuvenation of degraded pasture grazing lands are available. Available suitable grazing practice management technology for the hills is also available. Fodder conservation techniques to meet the lean period of winter and others. We can conserve in the form of bale, silage, in the form of feed block. Forage and pasture crop production techniques are available. Fodder production potentiality are available. So all these technologies we need to be taken to the different stakeholders like farmers, livestock keepers, state government, and other. Technology have been developed, but they need to be propagated now. When we talk of fodder resources in the hills, irrigated flat croplands provide good amount of green fodder. Then rain-fed sloping landscape of lower hills. They are the grazing areas and they are highly degraded now. Tree-based fodder system on private and public land have scope for further expansion. Cut and carry fodder like oat cowpea maize there. Fodder tree for green fodder during lean months. So these are the things we need to reduce pressure, deferred grazing, pasture. We need to cultivate more green fodder from cropland. Varieties of oat, cowpea, rice bean, lathyrus, clover, napier, etc. are available. Horticulture techniques need orchards for developing pasture for both green fodder as well as hay and silage making. So demand also need to be created. Livestock breed improvement, especially for bovines, small ruminants, ovines, we need improved breeds so that the livelihood option will increase. And it will create more demand for fodder and feed and will also make the fodder cultivation an economically viable option. Then forest technology for Jammu and Kashmir, again, we say first say important forage resources, cultivated crop. Oat, Basim, sorghum, palm millet, lucerne, Napier bajra, cowpea. Pasture, Zendra, Sitaria, Torfescu, white clover, red clover, Guinea, ryegrass, Phalaris, Dactylis. We have improved varieties in almost all these. Crop residues like paddy, wheat, barley, maize, millet, pulse, sarso, tree fodder, grassland grazing. These are the sources for, and these are the varieties especially for the Jammu Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir part of the country, Kent, Sabzar, and SKO 29, SKO 96, SKO 225, Bundel Jai 851, Bundel Jai 99-1, OS 424, JHO 2015. These are the varieties specially recommended for the hill zone. In case of Basim, Vardhan, BL22, BL180. In case of forage maize, African tar, and in this year another variety developed by the Sukasht, the K Srinagar, Salimar fodder maize 1, KDFM 1. It is the latest variety for Jammu and Kashmir fodder maize. Then the Sitaria grass, we have variety PSS 1, Sitaria 92, Palam Sitaria, tall fescue also, three varieties are there. Annual ryegrass for the low hills, perennial ryegrass for mid and high hills. Bajra GG3, they are the varieties for the hills. Improved variety for legumes, saftar or the Persian clover, white clover, red clover, we have varieties. Then there are also food fodder cropping systems developed for the Jammu and Kashmir. Only oat maize cowpea turnip system, maize cowpea, maize soybean system for the lower hills or plains of Jammu, paddy basim. These are the many systems which can be taken up. Then the fodder production technology also, highway sorghum plus bajra for the Jammu region, production potential of ryegrass with basim in lower to mid hills, effect of planting of tall fescue and seeded of white clover in the mid hills. Fodder production technology, improving the productivity of degraded grasslands, planting of tall fescue with white clover, and then integrated nutrient management. In sorghum, palm millet, oat cropping system, we have developed these technology especially for the hills. Then also the disease management technology, especially in the clover rot is a major problem affecting the clover productivity. Technology has been developed. Root rot and leaf blight in Basim for Jammu and lower hills. Jonate leaf spot in sorghum. Powdery mildew and collar rot in white clover for the mid hills. These are the technologies which have been developed for the management of these common diseases, which are the problems in the hills. Foliar diseases of cowpea, BSLB of fodder maize, powdery mildew of oat. Powdery mildew of oat is a very severe problem in the hills we are facing. So a biological management technology has been developed. Then the crop residue are very important component for the hills. So we have also developed technology where these crop residues can be biofortified or can be made more nutritional. Treatment of Lucina leaf, treatment of wheat, rice, straw and different grasses, which can make it more, improve the digestibility and nutritive value of pulses. Then maize stover also, which is very common in the hills. How we can increase the nutritive value as well as digestibility. Then these are some of the varieties again for the Sitaria grass, Palam Sitaria grass 1, S18, 500 to 600 quintal green matter can be given in 3 to 4 cut and up to 11% crude protein, and cold and frost tolerant it is. Palam Fescue grass 2 also, it is 13.6% crude protein. Another is Salimar fodder SKO 90 developed by Sukasht K, a very good variety. SKO 20 for Jammu and Kashmir state. SKO 96 again for the Jammu and Kashmir state. SKO 10008 So these are the varieties for the, it is a very good variety for the rice fodder root cropping system in the valley. So it is very, SKO225 was released very recently in 2019 only, and it gives very good fodder yield. 400, more than 400 quintal of green fodder with nearly 100 quintal of dry milk. So these are the oat varieties for hill. If we say a summary chart, if we you can compare all the varieties. Mundel Jai 2004 is another variety. It has high protein content and highly leafy. Mundel Jai 991 is also there with a very good digestibility. Then Cobian 5 is again a very high yielding crop and can be adopted in the lower and up to mid hills also, and in terms of Jammu and Kashmir and other of the Jammu. Then the grass varieties I have already talked some Hima 14 and Palam Sitare grass 1. The annual ryegrass, him palam ryegrass one, is especially for the tropical, subtropical, some temperate situation under irrigated condition. It can give up to 400 quintal, 3 to 4 cuttings, and root protein level is very high, 13%, and very high palatable, very soft leaf, and it is a very good fodder crop. Then also we have technology for the hills in case of Napier Bajra hybrid, you can see as the bund raiser. The bund raiser, you can Sitaria grass as a bund raiser, apple plus lucerne, apple plus white clover. So these are various technologies developed for the hill zones again. Now coming to the last part of my presentation, that is the what are the issue, what are the strategy, and what are the policy now. We have developed the situation. So when we say we have suitable technology available with ICR, IGFRI, SAE. I have already talked, we have cultivated forages available, we have food fodder cropping sequences available, round the year fodder cultivation practices are available, both for rain-fed as well as irrigated area. For rehabilitation and rejuvenation of grassland, grazing land, pasture land, we have technology. Horticulture, silvipasture, we have technology. Forage on bunds we have, and we have suitable legume and shrubs for the marginal land. We have suitable machineries for different functions. We have feeding technology for livestock at different stages, like at the heifer stage, at growing stage, at lactating stage, and at old stage. What should be the ideal feeding technology? What should be the combination of green fodder, dry matter, and
Hello? Hello? Is sir audible? I don't think sir is audible. Hello? Sir, I think you are not audible. Can you mute and unmute yourself again? Because your voice is not reaching us. Hello? Sir, you are not audible. Sir will come back and rejoin us. Am I audible to you guys?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, audible.
Yeah, yeah. There was some issue with the sir's laptop, I guess. So I think he might need to refresh the page and try again. Overall, please, I request again all of you, when you come to the, when you press the link, you will be shown options. And I think I have shared that sheet with the organizing committee, and I'll be dropping that sheet of rules and regulations on the WhatsApp group as well. It's simple. Join the session, do not present, and while you are joining, mute your audio and turn off your camera, because the session is going to be recorded all through. So these two expectations are from everyone. Whenever they come to the session, by clicking on the link, just simply mute the audio and camera also, and then also you have to join only, you don't have to press present. At times you guys come and just come by presenting, and what happens is the focus shift is from the resource person to the person who started a new presentation. And that is one part I want to talk about. Simultaneously, another part which I want to talk about is this: even if it happens and people feel like, okay, I am not able to see the presentation, if you see there is an option called as people, or where you see other people who are in the session, there would be a name of the speaker who is speaking, and next to the speaker there would be another name, the same name. Like for example, right now we have Ajay sir with us. There would be Ajay sir, and there would be another option of Ajay sir presentation. Click on that, and there would be an option of pinning that view, and then you can always see the presentation. That is the simplest thing I want to convey to you. Follow these steps and you will be enjoying the session. Otherwise you come. And one more thing, I'm will be trying very hard to send the link 15 minutes earlier. At times, what happens? There are complications at the resource person level. Resource person has some issues with the laptop or network. What happens? The sending the link part is going to get delayed. That's why I ask you. We will try to be very prompt and as early as possible. We'll do one thing. We'll send the link, and within 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, all of you guys should join. And I say join only, not present. What happens is people are joining at the nearly at the end part. I still get requests right now that I want to join the session. Why are you late? Even if we have mentioned this as a rule that people have to join around 15 minutes or so of the starting of the session, of the link being shared. People come very late, and problem is they don't come late and they start presenting. That creates a challenge for the speaker also, and for us as organizing committee also. Let me call sir and let me see how he is doing regarding this. Thank you. Guys, sir have joined us, I guess. Hello, Ajay sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Hello, is it
unmute yourself.
I will have to present again.
Perfect. The audio is clear. Thank you, sir.
Is it okay now?
The audio as well as the video is fine.
Is it visible now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Slides are visible?
Sir, visible, sir. You have to see, start the PPT mode, sir. Presentation mode.
No, slides, you can see slides. You can see slide or not?
Only background.
Only background.
Slides are not visible, sir.
Hey,
Only background.
The background.
Please, guys.
Okay. Wait.
You might have shared the wrong window. You have shared the window which is having the browser. You have to choose the window which has the PPT. Start presenting now and then choose a window with PPT.
Wait a minute.
Sure, no problem.
Wait a minute. Just there is something.
Is the PPT window maximized? Because that other way you may not be able to see it.
Is it okay now?
Just a second. Yes, sir.
It is okay now. Okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Let's continue.
So when we talk of strategies for grassland and CPR, a lot of significant work has been done and technology have been developed and tested with active support of government agencies and researchers. Now more emphasis is required in coordinated manner involving multiple stakeholders to implement these processes and activities to rehabilitate grassland and enhance the forest resources. So what we need now, we need to create awareness, we need to create development, implement technologies in eco-friendly manner for sustainable livelihood for both communities as well as grassland. Both are important. We will have to see grassland, how they can be rehabilitated and how the communities can be sustained, their livelihood can be sustained. If one is disturbed, the other will be disturbed because both are totally interdependent. So what are the issues and strategies? We need to develop crop improvement program. I have talked a lot about it. I'm not going. What are the issues? Again, conservation and effective use of water, pest management, conservation farming. We need to have improved crop management techniques. We need to characterize our resources, biophysical, socioeconomic, using GIS and remote sensing. We will have to map it. And ICFRI has done a lot of work and they have mapped the Himachal and Jammu Kashmir zone also for their various resources. Then rainwater use efficiency, because water is the most crucial resource in the hills. So we have to need to develop these rainwater harvesting situation also. We have to maintain the contingent crop planning. We have to surface seeding to or zero tillage, because tillage is an important part in the hills, especially in the slopes. Development of early warning system, because hills are the most calamity zone. They are most prone to all sorts of calamities. So early warning system and disaster preparedness will have to be there. Use of ITKs. Our forefathers, our ancestors have developed a lot of indigenous traditional knowledge, which allowed them to cope over certain adverse situations. We have to use them, we have to develop and also learn them. And horticulture, agro-silvipastures, because we have to dependent on many factors. One factor fails, we can grow again. Then also the resource conservation technology, in situ moisture conservation, and there are different aspects which you have to take. And how the forest resources can be augmented. Conservation technique is most important for the hills. We have to conserve in form of silage blocks and other. Silvipastoral practices. And we have to develop a network of nursery and seed bank so that we, in case of calamity, in case of others, we can propagate them easily. And then the transferring technology to field. And it must be done by using participative methods, including pastoralists. This is very important. Policy perspective, we need a comprehensive fodder mission program. It is not one or two small packages. It will have fodder mission, various stakeholders, national grazing policy on common crop, suitable grassland, pastureland rehabilitation initiative. We need to have a fodder bank, live fodder bank with fodder trees, bamboos, perennials, and dry forage edible crop residue, conserved and value-added. And we need reliable statistics. So action plan, what are the action plan different where we can do? Survey and assessment of demand and supply, IGFRI, SAU can take the lead, farmers awareness program, IGFRI, KVKs, state departments, cooperatives can take lead. Then the seed processing, seed storage facilities, we need funding sources. Then untapped areas, we need to tap these. They're like in form of fallow, cropping sequences, gaps, grazing resources, gosher land, hilltops, orchards. We can tap these land for augmenting forest resource. Horticulture, forest twin, joint forest management, social forestry, all these things, seed rolling plan, then region and area specific fodder seed production package, IGFRI SAU can take lead, increasing breeder seed intent for the state governments, making available quality seeds, and then the form seed producer club or seed village hubs in various pockets. Then the Milk Federation can also play a very crucial role, NDDB along with them. They can prioritize that technology, popularize that technology, and train and also provide training. The network will have to be strengthened in form of allocation, human resource, financial, private investment, focus research, mechanization, seed research, dairy forage industry incentive. These are very important. Then public-private partnership mode in new cultivars, in collaborative projects, in forest seed production and marketing, reclamation of wasteland, grazing land, marketing, networking, new forage crops. And these are some of the non-conventional forages also which are in practice now, like the thornless cactus, which do not have thorn, sugar beet, Beta vulgaris in many areas, azolla for fodder, sugar cane, Lathyrus, Vicia sativa. These are again some of the non-conventional. And if you want to go into much details, I will advise two websites, igfri.res.in and AICRP on forestcrops.res.in. A lot of information is available along with the package of practical varieties, etc. for different states in this country. And there are mobile apps also which are available on the Google Play Store. I will recommend to all of you to please go to Google Play Store and download 3 apps. Chara app, Forage India ICR, and Forage and Range Grasses. These are developed by IGFRI and AICRP and Forest Crops, and it contains a lot of information. Thanks for your kind attention. If you have any query, question, you can join. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Any
Yeah,
questions? But I think we have already gone over time.
I have stopped the presentation.
Yes, no problem. Yes, sir. Please stop the presentation.
Okay, I have stopped the presentation now.
If there are any questions, please ask. Sir will answer them, but make it short. Why? Because we've already extended our time. Anyone having questions?
Yes, sir. One question.
Question, sir.
One by one, please.
Sir, tri-species hybrid, it was yesterday, Dr. Yadav was told about a tri-species hybrid developed by IGFI. So what is
Yes.
its green yield potential and protein content? Whether it is at par with the popular hybrids or not?
Well, tri-specific hybrid. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tri-specific hybrid is actually good for the dry situation. Actually, it is a hybrid of 3 Penicetum species: Penicetum glaucum, Penicetum purpureum, as well as Penicetum squamulatum. It can give up to 700-800 quintal of green forages under the dryland condition or the zen-fed condition. It is usually not recommended for the irrigated situation, because if you have irrigation, you can go for BN hybrid, which is better. And crude protein content is 8 to 9% in this case, and the yield is 700-800 quintals per hectare.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. I have a question for sir. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. Actually, I am Dr. Ghulam Rasool. I belong to Jammu and Kashmir, sir.
Yes.
As far as our livestock is concerned, it is based on alpine pastures. So we have discussed many good varieties of fodder and forage developed so far by Premier Institutes. I want to know which varieties are best suitable for our alpine pastures that can be grown there in order to decrease the pressure on the pastures due to our increased livestock.
Okay, sir. Actually, when we talk of pastures are not so much dependent on the varieties. Like, more effort is needed for their proper management. Proper management is the most important aspect for the pastures because of the grass legume competition and other factors. So the grazing pressure, the grazing intensity, as well as the grazing management is an important component. Then if you go for the different areas, like you say, if I say the rye grass, that is the Lolium perenne, Lolium hybridum, white clover, red clover, subterranean clover, and your Sanfoin, these are the important, tall fescue also. These are the important crop grasses for the alpine pasture. And there are several varieties I have already indicated in my presentation, and they have been developed. Plus also the local varieties. If you contact the local university like your Sukasht K, they can tell you in a better way, and in the Sukasht K or IGFRI RRS in Srinagar, Dr. Shuhail Ahmed is there, or in case of the Sukasht K, you can meet Dr. Gul Jafar there in the Badgam station, and they can tell you in a better way which area you are and what is the better variety for that particular zone. Because when we develop variety for a particular zone. So
Yes.
under your specific condition is not known to me. So if you contact those centers, they will be able to tell you in a better way for your specific area, specific location.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Is it okay now?
It is okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
So now I can leave?
Yes, sir. Thank you on behalf of NEDCL as well as on behalf of the participants. I would like to thank you for the session. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, one question.
Sure, please go ahead.
Hello.
Okay.
Roy, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, some exotic varieties like Jury grass from Brazil and Super Napier from Thailand. They are, invading our India, and they are directly coming to India, and they are cultivated by the farmers. So, is there any restriction over those varieties?
Actually, these are the varieties which have not come in a proper manner. Somebody went to some country and they kept some seed or planting material in their pocket or bag, and they have brought it here. So since they have not come in the proper way, and we have tried to see some of the varieties, something like Super Nepean and others, but they are not better than our traditional varieties. Actually, when a farmer is not aware and they are given something in the name of some Super Napier or some other varieties, so problem is coming that they are not properly still tested and evaluated by our research system. And so we are not in a position to comment authoritatively on this material. But some scientists who have tested them sporadically in their station, and they have said that they are not superior to our traditional BN hybrid varieties which have been developed in last few years. They are inferior to them in both quality as well as production. So our varieties which are tested, evaluated for many years and tested across the country, they are better than those. So I will advise the farmers to grow our varieties because of their non-awareness. They are going through these other varieties. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I am Sophie Omar, sir. I am from Srinagar.
Okay.
Sir, I am a veterinarian, sir. I wanted to know that most of these green foders, including legumes, sir, whether it is berseem, alfalfa, or it is clover, sir, they are very rich in anti-nutritive factors like tannins, saponins, and oxalates that often cause various disorders in especially GIT upsets in livestock, especially when they are fed in young stage. Green fodder, sir. So I wanted to know, sir, whether there are any research projects or any varieties in the pipeline that will try to mitigate the problem, sir.
Actually, you please repeat the question because I'm unable to follow exactly what you
okay,
said.
Sir.
Please actually what you want.
Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes.
Sir, I wanted to know these green foders, sir, especially the legume foders.
Okay.
They are often rich in anti-nutritive factors like saponins, tannins, oxalates.
Okay.
That cause various types of disorders in livestock, especially when they are fed green. So I wanted to know, sir, whether there are any research projects in the pipeline, or you are trying to develop any varieties that can overcome this problem.
Okay. Actually, when a variety is developed, there are many criteria, and a variety is developed only if they meet all the criteria. So all these anti-quality factors are also one of the criteria. There is a threshold limit. So these varieties are tested up to that level, and they are released and notified only when they have those anti-quality factors below that threshold level. So when we say varieties released, you can go ahead with these varieties because anti-quality factors are less than threshold limit in those varieties. Number one.
Yes,
When we say anything, you can safely go ahead. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And then also there is a feeding mechanism. Many of the anti-quality factors simply disappear by suitable feeding mechanism also, like SCN content and many things. If you dry them, if you hydrate them, the alkaloid is precipitated. So you can go ahead. So these are the mechanism, and then legume. When you talk of legume, with legume, one very important component is there that if you go for high clover feeding, people mix a bit of Lotus corniculatus, because lotus corniculatus have a tendency which can block some of these anti-nutritional factors. And when you feed the legume, it is always advised that it should not be more than 25% of the total feed. Because if you feed legume in the large quantity, because of the high protein, they can cause the problems like bloat and others. So 75% of the cereals and 25% of the legume, in most of the cases, makes an ideal combination which provides energy as well as protein. Do not go for a high legume feeding, because it is the same system in our case also. If we feed too much on the protein diet, like the pulse or others, it creates problem for us also. And it is the same with animals. So legume diet should not be more. And I think there will be a lecture on this aspect feeding mechanism also. You can ask your specific question there. But when we say varieties are developed with anti-quality factor also taken into consideration. Okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Rai, sir.
Okay.
I am Dinesh from Karnataka.
Okay.
Sir, a Nari Institute from Paltan, Maharashtra, they have introduced some Subabul varieties.
Okay.
That is Nari Nirbeez and Wonder Grace.
Okay.
Have you tested these two tree fodder crops for the suitability of fodder and quality parameters?
See, I will not talk specific about the varieties, but we had a collaboration with them in earlier years, and many variety on the Lucina leucocephala or Subabul were developed by us, and it is in general this species is a very good fodder. Lucina you can feed to the animals very well, but again I will say take care that these do not constitute more than 20% of the total feed, because it is high rich in protein. And even in some varieties we have not tested the mymosine content particularly in those two varieties. I am not particularly aware of these varieties, but earlier we had collaboration with many sectors and the varieties were developed. Lucina as such is a very good fodder. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other query? Any other query, or it is?
Sir, I think, sir, we have taken enough of your time and you have been very patient with us. Thank you, sir, on behalf of NADCL as well as on behalf of the participants. I thank you from the core of my heart, because you were so patient, even though there are participants who created disturbances. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot for your valuable words and your insight on the topic. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Actually, it is not the fault of participants. Many of us are new in this system. We are not so much familiar with the online presentation. So,
I
I
realized that I had created some rules which I had given to the organizing committees to distribute so that this problem would not arise. You are right in saying that we are new. Most of us are new technology, but we have given them organizing committee the rules and regulations to be followed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Namaskar to all. Namaskar to all. Thank you.